basically, because I believe everybody that is on this call tonight, you are thinking beyond yourself, right? There are some basic things that you must pay attention to. And all these points I'm going to be listing are basically from historical data, right? These are characteristics of and elements that has made a whole lot of people made a whole lot of money. Okay, so and I want us to pay attention to that. And real estate is really the backbone of everything I'm going to be talking about, okay, tonight. And like I said during my presentation, you will have reasons to need questions. So the chat room is always a good place to draw your questions. Okay, so LifeMade, like I said, has been in the business of making life richer for the past 14 years. And in case you have any calls to reach out to any of us, our official numbers are going to be displayed shortly, which is 0906-5747 and 0906-5737. So now, talking about real estate, in 14 years, we've done quite a number of projects. Okay, we've done land banking, we've done sites and services, we've done projects in Lagos, in Ogun State, in Abuja, in Port Harcourt, in Owerri, in Abia State, in quite a number of places in the last 14 years. We've done housing, we've done terraces building, we've done bungalows, we've done standalone buildings, we've done quite a number of buildings, right? Both on the mainland, on the island, in Lagos State, we've done a whole lot of things. But one of the things I've come to realize is that there are things that a whole lot of investors do not really pay attention to. And that's one of the things that makes some people win when it comes to real estate. And when I'm talking about win now, I'm talking in terms of winning en masse. I'm not just talking about just winning in terms of I bought land 1 million, I sold it for 3 million. No, right? Yes, it's part of winning, but there's a way you can do real estate that it's going to. I used to share this story of Mary Kay family. One of the grandchild of Mary Kay asked the father, said, why? Mary Kay is one of the grandmother of cosmetics, right? I don't know how true this story is, but I've shared it a lot. I just hope it is true. He said they were working in one of the estates of Mary Kay, and the granddaughter was asking the father, so why did we hang? Apparently, they hung the picture of Mary Kay in a whole lot of places in the house, and the daughter asked said, why did we have to hang the picture of grandma everywhere? And the father looked at him, which is now the son of Mary Kay, said the reason why we have the lifestyle that we have is because somebody paid the price, right? And if we look back at our life, especially for those of us that probably are Nigerians in diaspora, probably you are based in the UK, US, Canada, or anywhere you are in the world, or you are even in Nigeria, most of us are 2 generations or maximum 1 generation away from poverty. Some they are the first person that want to leave poverty. Some they are just 1 generation away from poverty or 2 generations away from poverty. I hope you get my point. So most of the battles that we are fighting in terms of our finances is not our fault. We've never seen people do it successfully. So we don't have a reference point on how to multiply money. So it's not really our fault, okay? So you can be pardoned. But that's the reason why we want to have a section like this. So I hope you just follow me very, very painstakingly tonight. So it's not just number one thing that I've seen as a characteristic of the people that win en masse when it comes to real estate is that number one is that they don't just buy real estate assets. They buy an asset that can give them leverage. The asset is not just going to give them ownership, but it's going to give them leverage. And let me, I hope time will just permit me to touch on some of the points, everything, but I'll try. So, we all know that real estate is an asset, right? But if you are not careful, that same real estate that is an asset can be a liability. So while we're on our tour to the UK, there are some couple of my friends that I met, and one of them was sharing with me how when he relocated he didn't, I mean, when he wanted to relocate there, he was having a conversation with me about his property and all of those things. And he was just thanking me that he never sold some of the properties that he had in Nigeria and all of those things. So, and he said he was just so happy that he never did. And said, but the only challenge that he has now is that the property is supposed to be an asset. Now, in the last 4 years that he left Nigeria, he has only been able to collect rent from that same property once. He said he is the one paying the electric bill of that property from Nigeria. I mean, imagine, I'm sorry, from UK to Nigeria. He said he's the one paying the electric bill. And he explained a whole lot of things. So the property at that very point in time, there's a saying in local Yoruba language, says that the property that is to say the property has gotten to the peak of frustration. And he explained a whole lot of things that happened, and I gave some counsel on how that property can be turned back to an asset. In fact, I have a whole course. In fact, in our book, Beyond Land and Housing, there's a chapter that is actually dedicated to how to convert your idle property to a cash producing asset back. So you can just get the book. And for anybody that is interested in the book, you can chat any of our numbers, 0906 So going back to the number one thing for anybody that wants to win in real estate, and for anybody that is on this call, is that you are not just buying an asset, you are buying an asset that can give you leverage. So what is leverage in real estate? Leverage is anything that you can own in real estate that can help you to achieve other things. So most of the time, a lot of people pay attention to the fact that you can leverage real estate, your assets, to collect loan. But that's not the only thing, because in places like the United Kingdom, for instance, now, most of what people do there is that they buy a house based on their credit, because a credit-driven community, which is not bad, but if you know how to really use the credit, you'll be able to have a whole lot of advantage. Okay, based on their credit system, they buy a house. So they now let that house out. That is, they rent it out, right? And somebody is paying rental on that house. And based on the rental that somebody is paying on that house, they are now paying back their mortgage. That's what they do. So that's a form of leverage. Okay, but another form of leverage that I strongly believe that is superior to that is that you owning a piece of property not as expensive as a house, but that same property 100% ownership. Because when you do note, the ownership aspect is very important, right? Because in the system I just explained, it is the banks that actually hold those houses, those assets, okay? And banks could do a lot of those things. In fact, most of the banks in the Western world are heavily geared towards real estate and stuff like that, okay? Because there's title, there's limited supply, and all of those things. Because anything that has clean title and limited supply, it does not have finite supply, okay? That's the reason. And the reason why prices keep going higher is because most of the time, those banks try as much as possible to control the supply of houses so that the value of what they are holding can continue to grow higher. I hope I'm not speaking above our head tonight. So in this part of the world, we don't have that credit system. So most of the time, what we do is that we do self-finance. Okay, you buy the property in installment, you do all of those stuff. That's what we usually do in this part of the world. And self-financing basically means that you hold the property 100% by the time you have completed payment. But imagine owning a property 100%. Instead of you now leveraging that property to access cash, which is what you usually do in Western world. Sometimes when people have paid their leverage and their asset for like 2-3 years, they can use that same house to access more cash, to give them some form of liquidity, because real estate is actually a near liquid asset. It's not really a liquid asset as such, but they added that layer to it to bring some measure of liquidity to it, okay? But the beautiful thing is this. For a project like PalmVille, which I'm going to be sharing the opportunity with us, right? With as low as 15 million naira, which is 15 million naira is a little bit above $10,000, or less than 10,000 pounds, Okay? You can own an hectare of land, and you don't need to say you want to start building on it, right? If you want to build, the kind of return that 1 hectare of land will give to you, if you want to collect it in rent, you, after you have bought land of maybe let's say 15 million naira for one plot, not even 1 hectare this time around, you'll probably be building, or because we do construction all the time, you're going to be spending, in terms of construction, maybe another 150 million naira for you to be earning that same kind of return. And that is the reality. So the leverage it gives you is that the asset is not just increasing in value that you have owned 100%, but the asset is also giving you income. It's not just giving you value, but it's also giving you income, and is increasing in value. You hold it 100%, it's increasing in value, and it's also giving you income. That's number one thing. And see, go and look at all the richest, or everybody that has built wealth. Everybody that has built wealth, this is what they have done. In fact, of recent, most of us that study, that watch the news and study trends, we realize that Elon Musk's company, one of Elon Musk's company, went public. It was SpaceX, right? And there was a part of the whole media tour that they did that caught my attention, and people played back a video of when he was talking about when SpaceX just started. And they were asking him, who are your competitors? He said, we don't have competitors, because what we want to do, nobody else wants to do it. It sounds very arrogant. In fact, it sounds so arrogant that he said that he gave that same company that has made him a trillionaire today 0% chance, literally 0% chance of surviving. Okay, that's the amazing thing about it. But at the end of the day, they give it all that it takes. A lot of challenges, right? A lot of challenges. And I remember then when I was watching that interview, it brought me back to some of the real estate business that we do in Nigeria. And sometimes a lot of people used to think that, how can you be doing this thing in the land where there is no security and all of those things, okay? But like John D. Rockefeller said, it has been acclaimed actually that it was John D. Rockefeller that said the best time to buy is when there is blood on the streets. He said, because that's when everybody wants to sell. Imagine having money to buy and there is nobody that wants to sell. So that is the opportunity that we have right now. Okay, so number two characteristics of anybody that really wants to win in real estate and beyond is number 3 is consolidation. Okay, consolidation. So what does that mean, right? When we talk about consolidation. So typically, when people buy land in real estate, right, whether in Nigeria or outside Nigeria, they build houses on it. Okay, in that house, you can either live there, but let's even use the typical Nigerian setting now. Let's say you build 4 flats. You are staying in one, you rent the others out. What you have been able to do is that you have consolidated on that house, number 1, to give you accommodation. You are not paying rent. Number 2 is that you have consolidated on that property to be funding your lifestyle. That is, the rent increases. I mean, I shared also in our book, Beyond Land and Houses, where my father died, and my parents died, my father died, my mom died first, my father died 6 years later, and I was faced with the challenge of dropping out of school, right? And a voice spoke, right, when they were thinking of sharing my father's property. I said, no, let's send this boy to school now, collect 2 years rent from all the tenants that are there now, 2 years advance rent, so that we can take care of this boy, get him engaged in school and all of those things. That is what consolidating on, even though the people there had paid rent, but we had to tell them to pay extra 2 years rent because there is a demand. And if they had not paid those rents, what would have probably told them to do is to pack out of the house. So that is a form of consolidation. We were living in that house, we did not have to pay rent, right? but that same rent was funding our lifestyle. Okay, very, very important. So one of the things that, but like most of us know right now, if you want to get to that level, I mean, when my father died many years ago, we were cleaning his cupboard and we saw the receipt. My father is an accountant. He was an accountant when he was in Nigeria, meticulous accountant. Okay, so we saw the receipt of some of the stocks and some of the things he bought, right? And in one of the receipts that we saw, he bought a trailer load of cement in those days. Remember, in those days, we used to import cement. A trailer load of cement then was 16 naira or 600 naira. So, trailer load of cement. That was 1960. I think the date of that receipt was 1968 or so thereabouts. That was when he was constructing that house. Okay? And believe me, there were people that did not build the house then. Well, that is, I mean, most of us have probably had stories like that before, right? I hope somebody can relate. There were people that never built house then. And now cement is about almost 15,000 naira, and people are still doing construction now. In fact, if cement goes to 50,000 naira, some people will still be constructing. Lagos is construction everywhere. Is a construction field. Okay, so it's more expensive. That's where I'm actually going. So what it basically, one of the ways you can break or enter into that leverage without spending up to that amount is by plugging into PalmVille. So let me explain what that does is this. Okay, so you own a property, which is land when it comes to PalmVille. Then you now own the tree on that. I don't know whether some of us have bought virgin land before. After you bought the land, before you can work on that land, they will tell you to pay for the economic trees on that land. Because they believe that beyond the land, the economic trees on those lands are also assets. So the palm we are planting on your land itself is an asset. I don't know whether somebody is getting what I'm talking about at all. The palm you are planting on your land itself is an asset. Okay? So, and this farm, this asset is an asset that keeps producing on a regular basis. On a regular basis. Where this week that just passed, we visited 2 sites of our partners, our technical partners. We visited 2 of their projects, and we saw what the future of PalmVille will look like. As in literally the future. We saw trees that have been producing fruits on a yearly basis. We saw another one that is just starting to produce fruit. We saw things, right? So where am I going is this, right? Leverage that it gives you. So it helps you to consolidate. So number 1 is the asset and leverage. Number 2 is that it gives you consolidation. Okay? So real estate must give you consolidation. So PalmVille is not a cheaper alternative. I wouldn't want to use the word cheaper alternative, but it's a lower entry to achieve the same thing that building a house will allow you to achieve. Yes. The only thing now is that you building a house and living there, but this one you won't be able to live on your palm tree. But the income that you could have been getting from building a house, PalmVille is going to give you much more. Imagine having 100 hectares of PalmVille. 100. Okay, let me just, for those people that their mind cannot capture 100, let me just say 10 hectares of PalmVille. Imagine what that will do. It can literally change our financial story forever and ever. That's just the truth, okay? So because of time, let me quickly go into a slide. There are other things I actually would have loved to talk about, and but time will not permit me to touch them. So let me quickly go into what PalmVille is all about, because a lot of people are wondering, especially for those that are hearing PalmVille for the very, very first time. Okay, so let me quickly run through what PalmVille is all about. Okay, so just permit me to share my screen. If you can see my screen loud clearly, just type 1 in the chat room. If you can see my screen clearly, just type 1 in the chat room. I want to be sure you can see my screen. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel. Okay, so PalmVille